get a hold of. Okay. Again, some housekeeping. We're going to have everyone mute their mics while the presentations are going on. And if you have any questions, you can put the questions in the chat. If at each end of each session, we'll go ahead and answer those questions, or not towards the end of the entire training. Okay. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started with that. Today's agenda, we're going to consist of 5 different parts. We're going to go over the role of the facilitator. We're going to have special presentations from different resources, e-learning, information technology. Then we're going to have a faculty panel. So there's going to have some faculty and department chairs are going to be there. So this way, they're going to kind of give you little pointers of how you can be help us out as facilitators. And then we'll have some other important information on student services. Now, again, you play an important role with our students. Know that the facilitator is a really key component to the online learning of the students at the districts. Many of you guys have already been seasoned facilitators, so you've heard some of this information before. We know last year with the pandemic, it was a little bit different because some of y'all had to be facilitators. I'm going to start my timer, sorry. You had to be facilitators when your students were off campus. That was such a difficult part. But remember that your role as a facilitator is very key, because you're going to be the ones that link the student with the college and help us out. Even though you may not be an expert in the content area, but at least there is somebody there to kind of help navigate that student in times they may have some issues. And we're going to go over a couple of things of your role. So just a little housekeeping, oh, not housekeeping, but a little information about Dual Credit. Right now we have 49 high school partners around the coastal bend. We go all the way up to Pleasanton, down to Falfurrias, and everything in between. So 49 high schools. And as of today, we have 2,104 students enrolled in almost 4,000 courses. Almost 4,000 courses in college courses at Del Mar College. So 2,104. That's a lot. And we're all every day or every week, we're always kind of talking to other districts. So for your districts, thank you for your districts for being our partners. Okay, now let's get into the little nitty gritty of what it is that your role is. What is it? Because some of you guys might be like, oh my gosh, I have no clue. My district just told me I'm going to be a facilitator. That's okay. Don't worry. What we're going to give you today, we're going to give you kind of some key points of what exactly your role is. Okay, so here we go. And I think there was something emailed to you guys. So there's like kind of a little guideline. Again, this is going to be sent to you. So if you're taking notes, go ahead and take notes. But I know that we had emailed you this morning some information, and you can follow along kind of like a step-by-step. We're just kind of going to go a little bit more into it. So one of the roles that you have, the first thing you do as a facilitator is request access from the DMC instructor. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to be assigned students, and you're going to have, each of them are going to be in either English, history, government, something like that. What you need to do is you're going to request the access to the instructor, and we're going to give you that information as we once the school starts. And you're going to request those accesses, and then now the instructors at Del Mar College, they do have the right to say yes or no that they're going to allow you access. The access that you're going to receive is only a read access. So you're going to be able to see only your students that are assigned at your district. So if you're at Cal Allen High School, you'll only be able to see those students, and you'll be able to see kind of their Canvas shell, exactly what they're kind of working on, their syllabus, things like that. So when they grant you access, again, you're not going to be able to see, you're not going to be able to tweak assignments or anything like that. You're only going to be able to see what the student sees. And number 2, the role of facilitator is to attend a training, which you're already doing. So guess what? You already done number 2, so you can check that off your list because you're attending the training right now. And number 3, you're there basically to offer support to the students, because as the semester is going on, there's going to be some questions. Because remember, we have 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds that never been in a college class, and they just kind of want some type of guidance. So you're there to offer support and to the dual credit student. And what type of support is we'll get to in a minute. So some of the supports that you can do, one of the main ones is help students with the technology issues. That's always a big issue. And if you're kind of like, hey, I'm not technology savvy, I don't know what to say. It's basically just knowing to put the student in line with our technology people. In a minute, our IT individuals are going to be on talking about what it is that they do and their role and how you can guide to students. So we're not necessarily telling you have to go and rebuild a computer or upload software and things like that. We're basically saying, like, can you help the student navigate to where they can find the resource at Del Mar College to help them. So that's where you come in with the technology issues. Sometimes it might be like, oh, the camera's not working. Oh, guess what? Just plug it in. Maybe they didn't think about plugging it in, or turn on the on switch. A lot of those little troubleshooting things are kind of like easy to navigate. Maybe somebody tripped over a cord or something like that. Ensure the students have all the materials. Lots of times we have students that's like, I don't have the books. If you're a district that purchased the books for students, please, if you see a student on their computer and they're needing, everybody else has a book, but one of them doesn't, ask those students a question. Hey, where's your book? Did you leave it at home? Sometimes we do get students that says, I never got my book. I'm waiting for the district to give it. If that's the case, help that student navigate, maybe someone who's in charge of the textbooks and issuing those, and letting those districts know, somebody at the other level, like, hey, little Johnny doesn't have his book. He needs it. He's falling behind. So simple questions like that to make sure that they're ready the very first day of class when the Del Mar College starts. Now, we're going to have that window right now because many of you maybe have started. Some of you are starting the next week. So Del Mar College doesn't start until August 30th. So those are things that we can do, is making sure that the students have the proper material that is needed to get into their online course. Then, when there are exams, there are things that we need to do. Sometimes we have we need the cameras, or when they're taking an exam. If sometimes there's issues with the cameras that are not working, in that case, we're going to have you be a proctor to those for those exams, meaning that you're going to have to kind of just like navigate, make sure there's no cheating or anything going on, because every exam that a student takes at Del Mar College has to be proctored in some type of monitoring system, whether it be by a camera or be by a physical person in there. And then we're going to have another department that kind of talks about that here in a little bit, okay? And helping download those lockdown browsers. A lockdown browser is basically another version of trying to monitor the students. Now, it gets a little bit technical about downloading that software, but there are step-by-steps. Again, we don't need you to be a software expert. We just need you to make sure that you can help navigate that student and the direction of how we can help, or somewhere at Del Mar College. And ensuring there's no interruptions. Now, some of you guys, every district is different. Sometimes we have a whole bunch of students go into a computer lab and they start taking their exam, or their assignments and things like that. We want to make sure that every student has the opportunity to have a learning environment that is better for them to be able to navigate through these things, through these courses, especially when there's exams. If there's like 20 students in a classroom and you have 2 students taking an exam and it's so loud, that's not fair for that student. So ensuring that there is a little environment that the students can be able to concentrate, maybe either be putting them in another room during exams or something like that, so you can work with your districts, making sure that there's not loud noises or any distractions that's going to hinder the students from succeeding into that course. So, and also going back into the proctoring, and they'll talk about one of the big things is making sure that before the exams, that we identify the students, they are the actual students taking the exam, that somebody else is not taking that exam for them once it starts. So you can say, okay, you'd have to have a sign-in sheet if you're going to be proctoring the exam, making sure that that person is who they say they are that's taking the exam for those things. And when you do those proctorings, there's a thing that we're going to have to do, and e-learning is going to talk about, was one of the resources, submitting those signing login sheets, because that, if you're going to be proctoring an exam, every student's going to have to sign in onto a log sheet, and then you, the facilitator, will submit that to the department, so this way they have a record of who actually took the exam. And we're gonna count on you to verify those students that they say who they are. And again, this is going to be more discussed into e-learning. And ensuring that the students are working on DMC work. We see sometimes, we know that the students are going to go in 5 days a week into a computer lab for the most part. they may be done for assignments. Sometimes it's very distracting to go and say, oh, I'm just going to get on my Facebook or my Twitter account, or I'm going to watch a YouTube video or something like that. We do have students sometimes that they're not doing their coursework. Remember, your district is allowing a student to go in 5 days, at least 5 days a week, for at least 45, 55 minutes to work on their classwork. So there's no excuse for students to say, well, I didn't have internet access, I didn't have it at home or things like that, because they have those 5 days a week to go in there and do their coursework. If a student's not doing their work, that's a problem. And then you can take it up with the with your administration and let them know, hey, we have individuals who are not doing their coursework, and then they're falling behind. But we don't want to. Online, remember, a lot of times it's just on their own. We definitely do not want them to get behind. We want them to keep up with a lot of their coursework. And then whenever you get your reserve access to that Canvas shell or to that Canvas page or to the students portal, you're going to be able to see a syllabus. And if you see a good job, a good practice, I could say, is to look at that syllabus for each course, okay, that you're going to be facilitating, and look to see if there are any conflicts that maybe AP exams, PSAT, SAT, ACT. If you see that, maybe get your district's calendar, and if you see that any of those exam dates conflict with maybe an exam that the professor would have, maybe reach out to the professor, or to the instructor and say, like, hey, we're here at so-and-so high school, we have these exams, I see that you have this, I'm going to let you know up front that there's going to be a scheduling conflict. Now, you just let them know. You don't negotiate anything, but you just let them know that there possibly could be some things, and letting your students know that if they have some type of UIL, maybe football, band, cheerleading, choir, whatever the thing is, that they're going to be out for an exam or assignment on a due date, that the student go and actually tell those students they need to contact their instructors to let them know, because Del Mar College doesn't necessarily make we don't have to make excuses for makeup exams for UIL competitions, pretty much for the state ones. I can tell you with experience of working there with our instructors that a lot of them, if there's a lot of notice ahead of time, a lot of them do work with the students. So it's a lot of the key part is going to be communication with them. Okay, and then number 12, visit our Canvas Facilitator resource page. We have created here in the department a page, and we're going to go into later on in the session about this page just directly for you in case you have some questions that you may have or not know how to address issues that students may have. Okay, and then helping students assist on contacting professors when issues arise. That's a key one, guys, because again, they're 14, 15, 16-year-olds. We've had some times where a student will type in, try to get a hold of a professor, and they say, IDK, how to do my assignment. IDK, I don't know. Professors do not, or instructors do not talk in text verbiage, things like that. So if you get with a student that says, hey, I'm going to email my instructor, maybe you guys want to suggest to them, let me look at your email before you send it. Because we want the students to communicate an educational thought. They're so used to using abbreviations and text messages and things like that. Writing an email can be a little bit tricky. So some of you guys have teenagers, they're texting and they know how to text each other really quick, but creating an email, an educational thought to an instructor, especially if it's like an English instructor or somebody like that. So we just want to make sure, maybe suggest to the students, like, let me look at your email before you send it off to the instructor, make sure that maybe you want to tweak it and things like that. Okay. Things that your role does not entail, and it's going to get hard sometimes on these things. So teaching the online course, again, you are not the instructor of record. The instructor of record is the Del Mar College instructor. So you're not the teacher of record, you're just there to kind of help the students. Now, some of y'all may be content experts. For example, you might be a math teacher facilitating a college algebra course, or an English teacher facilitating an English 1301 course. That's okay. If you want to kind of guide them, on some of the things that the professor is trying to teach them, that's okay. But again, you are not the instructor. So therefore, you are not signing number 2, setting up parent conferences to discuss academic or issues or assignments of the Del Mar College course. Again, you would go back to referring back to the students. Okay, you have to contact your professor, and any communication needs to be through there. Okay, so just make sure that you do that. Again, parent-teacher conferences. Now, if it's for something else, okay, but anything that has to do with the Del Mar course, that will have to be communication first with the student and the instructor, and then there's protocols that for the students to be doing it if they want to bring in their parents in the contact. And also number 3, you do not negotiate deadlines, instructional changes, or grade changes for the student. So you say like, hey, I know that Mary here, she doesn't deserve this grade, so I think you need to change this grade. Do not do that. Again, you're not the instructor of record. Always encourage the students. If there is a grade dispute or anything, there are protocols here at Del Mar College that the students need to follow in order to dispute any grades, assignments, anything like that, or any instructional changes. Has to come from the student, between the student and the college, or the instructor, excuse me. So again, there's going to be resources that we're going to be able to help you navigate. So we will arm you with that information. So this way you can tell the students, I can't really reach out to the instructor on that for that purpose, but this is how you would do it. And we'll kind of guide you through that process. So the timeline of responsibilities, again, we kind of reiterating kind of the stuff they say. Number 1, ensure the students do the dual credit orientation. That's going to be a key one. We wanted to do face-to-face orientations this past summer, but due to COVID, we weren't able to host in-person orientations. So you're going to have between August 10th and the 30th, you're going to have this big chunk of time where we want you to have the students log in, because we created an online orientation, to log into our orientation. We'll show you how later on, to get them so the students can go and look at all the different resources. So I know there's kind of these things like, what am I going to do with this students for the next 2 or 3 weeks? These are things that we're going to be telling you, please let the students do these. Do a training, look at this video, because that's going to help you kind of control the classroom environment for the next couple of weeks. And if they do these, so make sure, please, it's a critical thing. And some of these students just click. Encourage them, please read these, because this is for their benefit. So we want to make sure, and we can see how long they were on it, if they completed and things. So please help us get those students to do their orientation. Okay. Make sure number 2, students have to log on to the web DMC account. Do the 10th. If they're having problems logging in with their password to contact IT, their username, this is the time that we're going to need to help get those web DMC accounts. Make sure that every student that you are facilitating can log in before August 30th. That's going to be a key thing. We don't want to wait till September 3rd or 4th or 5th. And believe me, we have students that have been there for like, it's been 2 weeks. I don't even know how to log in. It's like, why didn't you say anything? So ask those questions. Can everybody log in? Is everybody logging in there? We're good to go. And if not, then that's the time to do it. Students, they can look at their program evaluation, and we'll go that later on, or we can show you how to navigate through that. A program evaluation is basically the degree pathway. They can see what their degree they chose at Del Mar College for right now, and see what kind of classes they may want to take. So this way they can take that to their counselor. Number 4 is students, again, have all the material. Please make sure that students, if they don't have a book, ask them, where's your book? Get your book. When are you going to get your book? Because again, the longer they don't have that book, they're going to fall behind. Okay. And cross-reference the high school roster with the Del Mar College roster. That's going to be a key thing there, is that you're going to be getting, and your counselors are going to be getting, a roster of all the students that are in your online class. Look at that high school roster, look at the college roster, and make sure that the student's name on both of those. If they're not on one or the other, get with the counselor and let them know. That's going to be a key thing, because the student might not be enrolled on our side, but they're enrolled on your side. Okay. Now I'm going to introduce Dr. Bridget Harden with the e-learning department. So, and they're going to talk to me a little bit about e-learning.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Facilitators Training. I'm so glad that you're a part of this process because, as Bob indicated earlier, over 2,100 students that navigate through this program, and they're ranging from ages 14 to 18. That in itself, I mean, think about that. That's a lot of people. So I like to look at the role that you have as you're kind of like the seismologist. You're testing and sensing the ground if there's any percolating for any volcanoes or stress that are going to erupt for the students that you're working with. And as such, you're the point of contact for that student when they're getting stressed out and they're curious about things that need to be going on in their courses and they may not be able to get a hold of their instructor. You're that next line. You're that person that they're like, okay, help me out here. I want to do well. I want to succeed. So thank you for the role that you play in all of this, because it's a viable role. It's a necessary role. And for us in the Office of E-Learning, I'm one of the instructional designers. There's another instructional designer. We also have a distance education specialist, as well as our director, Janet Camps. And we primarily work with faculty as they design their courses and set them up to facilitate those courses through online modality, hybrid modality, and what have you. So when the students are taking their courses, we don't really work with the students one-to-one, so to speak. However, we are familiar with the courses. We're familiar with the exam setup, Respondus lockdown browser, as well as the Respondus monitor. So then that leads us to slide 1. And it's important when a student comes in to take an exam, to sit for an exam, that we really make sure that that student is set up and ready to go, because there's anxiety that's going to happen when they're getting ready to take that exam. You all have been there. You've taken an exam, and before you take it, even though you know 100% of the content, you've studied like crazy, you've got it down, it can be rather stressful. So making sure that the electronics are set up correctly. Hopefully IT has worked with you and you've got things going where the webcam is working, the microphone is working, and everything is set up. So we're, in a sense, minimizing that seismology moment of stress that can percolate the volcano from erupting. So thinking of that in mind, if the software is not available, and there are issues, then it's the school district will provide the proctors for the exams. And you might be wondering, why do we have to have all this proctoring going on? Well, part of the accreditation for Del Mar College is to ensure that knowledge is being imparted to the students and they're acquiring this knowledge and skills necessary to be proficient in the material they're learning. And in order to make sure that it's the actual student who's demonstrating that proficiency, we have to verify they are who they are before they take the exam. So proctoring the exam is one way that we ensure that we are not in violation of visual identity and visual, what we call cheating, because a person can impersonate somebody else. It's been done in the past, so we have to be careful that that's not happening now. So all test proctors must be employees of the school district. They cannot be student mentors or other non-employees such as volunteers. And the importance of validating a student's identity prior to the exam is critical, so that way, once again, we can ensure that it is the actual student who is demonstrating their knowledge and or skill as it comes to the content matter being tested on. So students must show a current ID, being it a state issue ID, a passport, but if they don't have one, unfortunately, we can't proceed with taking the test. So that identity being verified is critical. So going on to the next slide, the students are required to sign in before the start of the exam. And this creates a sense of paper trail. So fast forward, if we're in an accreditation or we have to confirm everything with our records that students are being assessed, we're finding where there's like gaps in the curriculum and what we need to improve upon, we can demonstrate that yes, we verified the identity of the student. Yes, we've had exams being taken. Yes, we're collecting data by student performance via these exams. So having that proctoring form helps us have basically a paper trail. So then the school district's proctors and facilitators provide the sign-in sheet for each exam, which is the class and the instructor included in that as well. So these sign-in sheets will be scanned and they will be submitted to, and this is the email address, dcproctor@delmar.edu. We want them in no later than 48 hours after the exam. And to offer you kind of a sneak peek behind the curtain, if you will, our office, we store all of the scanned records and we keep them cataloged and tracked by semester. So if down the road there might be a potential issue of a student saying, I took that exam and I took it on this date and we don't have a record of that exam being cataloged or captured. Well, we can go back and we can look at the sign-in sheet, and if we see the student's name and it was signed in, then boom, we have a paper trail showing, yes, they sat for that particular exam, and we verified their identity. So again, this is a paper trail of protection for all involved, and it also helps us to catalog the processes that were going on. And then from there, each proctor should keep the academic integrity of the course and exams, making sure that, you know, people that are supposed to take the exams are taking it, making sure the content of the exam is staying there within, not getting leaked out. And then proctors also make allowances for additional testing materials and accessibility accommodations. And this is where they really work well with our disability services office to make sure, like, if screen readers are necessary or certain other bits of equipment are available to students who have identified that they need it. So that's the key part of the proctoring process and why it's vital to have it. And so if y'all have other questions about this process, please do not hesitate to contact our office. You are a facilitator. We consider you as part of our family of instructional support. And so if you have questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us at elearning at delmar.edu, or you can contact us at 698-1312, and we will be there and happy to offer you any insights that we may have as it relates to this process.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we're going to hear from Sarah Greer with the Information Technology here at Del Mar College.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for coming today. It takes a village to get all of this going for students, all of these things. And on top of all of the learning that they're doing and communicating with English professors in a satisfactory way, you also have to help them with their device issues. And we all know how many device issues there are, how many devices, people's different comfort levels with technology. So I'm just here to share a few tips on how to get help from our help desk at Del Mar, and also a couple of tips about how to ask for help. So before I really go into that, I always tell people, from my parents to my boss to my staff, that Google is your friend. So when you first have a student that's panicking because they can't do something, and then you start panicking, go to Google and just type in, you know, the name of what they're using, like Canvas. And then whatever literally they say I can't do, you know, just type it in, see what comes up, and see if you can work through it that way. If you've done everything you can, or you just can't take it anymore, we are here to help. So tips for requesting help from us include, first of all, you want to contact us. You want to email us at vikinghelpdesk@delmar.edu, and I'll type that email address in the chat. That's the best way, because we'll have an email. We track our emails and we create tickets. You can also call 361-698-2330. And when you do that, as far as trying to get help as fast as you can, it always helps to include as many details in the initial contact that you can. So if it's you or the student, just keep these things in mind. And for instance, I got a ticket this morning that said, Canvas, I don't know what happened. It stopped working. So that means I have to, we have to call the student, pull the information out of them to figure out what's not working. So it helps to get those details first as soon as possible. And some of the questions you can sort of answer in an email to us is, is it a hardware issue, or is it a software issue? Is it a hardware issue, like are you using a smartphone? Are you on a Windows, Chromebook? Which software or app are you using? And what did you do just before the problem started? So you were in Canvas, I was typing a question, the page disappeared, or I got an error when I tried to send an email, stuff like that. And was there an error given? Those errors that pop up might look like gibberish to a lot of people, but to us in IT, that tells us, okay, where the problem might be. So anything you can give us that the error said, type it out, paraphrase it if you clicked OK and can't remember exactly, or take a screenshot. Screenshots are always good. It always helps us kind of figure out what's going on and see the context of the problem. So if you take a screenshot of your whole desktop screen, not just the little error message, so that we can see maybe something else might be going on. Then usernames and passwords seem to be the sticking point for most people, especially at the beginning of the semesters. And I want to echo that you want this stuff to be worked out before the first day of school, and preferably before the week before, prior to the week before even, because once that starts, everybody's calling the help desk, everybody's emailing, and so there's going to be a delay in getting help. So the earlier you can go through these processes, the better. So there are 3 things to kind of keep in mind here. If these are first-time students at Del Mar College, they can go to delmar.edu/ID info. I'm sorry, what's on the screen is not correct. It's delmar.edu/ID info. Putting that in the chat. And what that does is take them to a page where they can enter either their DMC ID number, student ID, which is not the same as their high school ID, or their social security number, along with their date of birth. And that brings them to a page that will give them their temporary initial PIN number that they can use as a password. And again, this is for first-time students only. Once they change their password, that PIN is not going to work for them. Once they get that PIN and they change their password, when they know their password, it is best right away to register to reset their own password. I'm going to explain that in a second. For returning students, if they forgot their username, they can go to that delmar.edu/ID info to sign in with the same information, either their DMC ID number or their social security number and date of birth, to get their username. But that password, that PIN, is not going to work for them at this point. So they are going to have to call the help desk to get someone to help them reset their password and get in. Once they have that password, they need to register so they can reset their own password in the future. And how you do that, I have another short link, delmar.edu/password reset. If they go to that link and they know their password, it's going to ask them to sign in and provide some verification information like a personal email address or cell phone number, so that they can then go reset their own password, and they don't have to call help desk, they don't have to wait in line, and they can get in on their own. And this is a really good thing to know. Passwords expire every 120 days. That's for to help with account security. So this is going to be a problem. This will happen more than once. So registering is the best thing for them to do. And then once they register, they can, at any time, 24/7, if they're up at 3 in the morning doing their homework, they can go to any Microsoft 365 app sign-in page. So for instance, outlook.office.com is where they would go to check their DMC student email address. There's a link at the bottom that says can't access your account. All they have to do is click that and then choose work or school account, and then follow the instructions to reset their password. It's as easy as that. It's just that one first step that they have to register to be able to do this. Otherwise, they will have to call the help desk. As students at Del Mar, along with employees as well, we're a Microsoft 365 school. So we do offer email and apps to students as part of their enrollment in here. So Outlook is where students will go to check their email. They also get OneDrive, and that gives them about exactly 1 terabyte of file storage in the cloud. And a lot of employees have come to learn that OneDrive is going to save them. This past year during the pandemic, when we were working from home or who knows where, if you save your files to the cloud, you can get to them from anywhere. You also have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, those types of apps. And I didn't put this on the slide, but you can download those apps to up to 5 devices, including mobile. So you could have the desktop version of Word and Excel on your home computer as well as your mobile. And it also offers Teams, Microsoft Teams, which we're doing right now for online class meetings. So students can sign in with their Del Mar email address when they go to Teams and be admitted to the meeting like we are. And there are pictures of the mobile apps because I realize students tend to use their mobiles a lot.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for the information. We appreciate you sharing that with us. Sarah did put the information that was mentioned in the chat, so be sure to go there. The Viking Help Desk information is there, as well as the Help Desk phone number. There was a correction to the ID Info website, and she did list that correct information in the chat. Thank you so much again, Sarah. We really appreciate all that helpful information. Everybody needs a good IT person in their back pocket. For us, that's Sarah Greer. So what we have up on the screen now is some more information about how your students can access Canvas and WebDMC. We do have a brief informational video right now on Canvas. So it's just a brief 2-minute video, and we can show you where your students and yourselves can access this information. Alyssa, I think we're needing the sound on it.
Here's how to navigate Canvas on your mobile device or computer. Step 1. If you are on a mobile device, Dashboard is the first thing you will see after you log in. If you log in with your desktop or laptop device, you will also see the dashboard, where you will see global navigation links on the left. Let's look at the global navigation links on your mobile device. Click the drop-down menu at the top left of the screen. This opens access to the mobile global navigation links. Looking at your desktop or laptop device, the links are the same except for 2. Step 2, Dashboard. This provides an overview of your current courses. Each class may have clickable icons for announcements, assignments, and discussion. Step 3, click Account Link. This section allows you to specify Step 4, click Course Link. This lets you see all the courses you are taking. Step 5, click Calendar Link. This displays your personal and course calendars. Step 6, click Inbox Link. This allows you to send and view conversations with your instructors and peers in Canvas. Step 7, click Help Link. This is where you will find Del Mar College help resources. There are 2 extra global navigation links on your desktop or laptop device. Step 8, click Library Link. This is where you can access Del Mar College Library's distant education resources. Step 9, click Viking Central. Del Mar College's student support services are displayed. Student resources, e-learning support, student services from the Department of Student Engagement and Retention, and the Department of Student Outreach and Enrollment. Del Mar College Learning Centers and tutoring, along with Title V grants, continuing education and workforce programs, and the Del Mar Alumni Services. Thank you for watching. We will explore Canvas with more how-to videos. If you have suggestions for other how-to videos, leave them.
Okay, that was again just a brief video on Canvas. That is located on the Del Mar College Dual Credit webpage under Facilitators, the Facilitator page. So your students can easily access that. I believe it's also located on the Dual Credit homepage. So it's easy access for your students. And we do want to make sure that your students are making sure that they can successfully access Canvas well before school starts. So for a majority of you, school does start next week, but for Del Mar College, we do not start till August 30th. So that is a good time frame between the 10th of next week and August 30th, making sure your students can successfully log into Canvas using that username and password. And now we want to make sure that they can access WebDMC. So again, here is a brief video on WebDMC. I think we're needing the audio on that for us, Alyssa.
1 second. Technical difficulties.
Alyssa, this is Sarah from IT. Can I help you really quickly?
Yes, please.
Okay. In Teams, when you go to, you might have to stop sharing your presentation and then go share it again.
We'll take a moment to give you a quick.
Or share your, stop sharing your screen. And then go share it again, but there is an option to include computer sound.
Yeah, it's not it. Hold on.
Sorry, guys.
The joys of technology, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
While we're waiting, I did see that Amanda Cisneros did put the updated form on there. I know there was an issue with the survey for the Perkins grant. It has been fixed and it is located in the chat for you all to access.
Okay, we'll try this again. So sorry.
Wanted to take a moment to give you a quick run through of how to access WebDMC and the different things that you can do with it. So from any internet browser, whether it be Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Internet Explorer, Microsoft Edge, just open it up and go to Del Mar's website, www.delmar.edu. And once you get here, at the top of the screen, you'll see your menu. And here, you can click on Web DMC. Once the Web DMC loads, it'll give you an option. You have a menu at the top giving the opportunity to log in. When you log in, it's going to ask you for your user ID and your password. This is the same user ID and password as if you were logging into Canvas. So you can enter that in here, enter the user ID, enter the password, and then hit submit. Once you hit submit, it'll give you some different menu options that you can access. As a student, we want to take a look at this one here, in which this now from this profile gives you everything about you. But what we want to focus on for today is underneath your academic profile, we want to look at your My Class schedule. By clicking on My Class schedule, it's going to ask you what term. So what we're looking at right now is the upcoming Summer 1 2020. Right? So select Summer 1 2020 as the term and then hit submit. And then your class schedule would show up down here. These are the courses in which you have been registered for by an instructor or an advisor going into Summer 1. Obviously, as an instructor, I don't have anything there, but you'd be able to see what yours would look like. From there, you can hit OK, and it takes you back to the student menu that you were in. If you're satisfied with the schedule, the next one we want to look at is under Financial Information, Viking Pay. So you click on the Viking Pay, and it'll open up another internet window. And we're students or staff. And you can log in here again with the same username and password as if you were accessing Canvas. Right? Once you type that in, log in. This window then tells us what the account balance is. This balance will show the courses that you've been registered for the summer, as well as any unpaid balance from the spring or past semesters. And all you got to do there is click on the Make a Payment button and such. And that's it.
Alrighty, those again were just two brief videos that we had for Canvas and Web DMC. These videos can be easily accessed to the Del Mar Dual Credit webpage. We highly encourage both your students and yourselves to make sure that you can successfully log into Canvas and Web DMC. Again, these are great things that we want to make sure that our students are doing between the time they start school there at the ISD and the time that they start school with us at Del Mar College. We did make sure in the last video on Web DMC, we showed our students how to access their class schedule. Many times in the beginning of the semesters, we do go to our schools and we see that students are registered on the high school side, but they're not registered on the Del Mar College side. So again, that's where checking our term reports and having our students check on Web DMC to ensure that they are actually registered with us at Del Mar, just to make sure everything is good to go before school actually starts. So that is a great way to double check both our work here at the Del Mar College, the high school's work, and it's a great way to make sure the students know how to successfully use Web DMC as well. They also showed you in the video how students can pay online through Viking Pay. Our payment deadline, as stated in the chat, is August 25th. So again, your students start school for the most of you. I know schools like London and TM have already started, but for the most part, a lot of your schools don't start till next week on the 10th. So we do have a payment deadline of August 25th. So we do have some students who possibly may have not completed their tuition payment. So we are showing you again in that video how we can instruct students to make that payment through Viking Pay accessed on Web DMC. Again, if anybody has any questions with that, just go ahead and let us know in the chat and we can go ahead and address them later on in the presentation. At this time, we do have a few minutes break. Get up, stretch, and don't forget, during this break, we are encouraging you all to like us on our social media platforms, whether that be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you're on Snapchat or TikTok, definitely like our pages. We've also put in the chat that information for that updated survey for Perkins Grant. We truly appreciate your participation in that. And Alyssa, are we giving them a 5-minute break here?
We can do a 10-minute break.
Okay.
And then if y'all want to just stay on, you can. Or if you need to get up and use the bathroom, anything like that, feel free to do so. And then we'll come back at about 10:10.
All righty, 10:10. Get up and stretch. Again, if you guys have any questions from this point, go ahead and put them in the chat and we will be sure to address those. I do see a question here from Miss Carol at King High School. Our dual credit page, our handle names is at DMC_dual credit. So it's at DMC_dual credit. So when you're searching for us on any one of those social media platforms, that is how you can access our page. I also see another question here from Ms. Brenda Garcia. If your school is a school that the ISD does pay tuition, they are not necessarily held to the same deadline. We will usually bill the ISDs at that point through our business office. So no worries on that. We will take care of that on the back end.
Again, for those of you who missed the QR code in the beginning of this program, the presentation, if you would scan this, if you can, please scan this survey code, QR code for the survey, and help us out with our Perkins funding as here at the college. So if you can, please go ahead and complete that survey sometime today.
Alrighty, we do see a couple of questions here in the chat. If once a student is registered for dual credit classes with us at Del Mar, they are automatically registered with Canvas and WebDMC. So it is important that they utilize the steps provided by Sarah Greer earlier in the presentation to access their username and password information. And that is what they would use to log into both Canvas and WebDMC. So their username and password will be the same for both Canvas and WebDMC. So students will not need to register per se for any of those programs. Once they're registered for classes, they should be able to access both WebDMC and Canvas.
I see another question, Nicole, from Larissa. I think Emily answered it. How can I see if I have any students that still have not paid? Students if the student has still not paid, we will go ahead and we'll be sending reminders to the students 2 weeks out, 1 week out, reminding them that they still have a balance. So we encourage those students to pay. Sometimes we will help if you all can help us out as well by contacting those students. We can send a list. We usually send a list to the counselors, letting them know that students have not paid. You all, the facilitators, have more contact with the students than the counselors, so we can send that as well to you guys to let us know, to notify those students if they're sitting in the classroom with you.
They also can go onto WebDMC, and on Viking Pay, it'll tell them what their balance is. So if they have a 0 balance, it'll show there as well. And it could be a good practice for the students, even if they have paid, just to make sure that they do know how to log in and access Viking Pay for future semesters. Again, don't forget to like us on all of our social media platforms there. We will be picking a few lucky winners for some prizes, and our lovely dual credit coordinators will be dropping off those prizes to those lucky winners. We have listed our information. If you would like to contact the Del Mar Dual Credit office, our number is posted there, as well as the dual credit email, website, and the information to download our Viking Go app is all listed there. Also, if you are just joining us and you have not yet put your name and high school in the chat, we are needing that for attendance purposes. So if you can please be sure to put that information in the chat if you have not yet done so. And thank you all so much for joining us. We are so happy to see the great participation from all of our schools. Thank you guys. We have about 5 more minutes to our break is over. 5 more minutes.
Welcome back, everyone. We are going to get started with our panel session. So we do have 4 faculty that have joined us today and will be answering some questions and also sharing their knowledge. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Terry, would you like to start?
Sure. I'm Terry Samo. I teach over in business administration. I've had lots of experience with dual credit. Actually, I used to work at Moody, so I love high school students, and they're always interesting and ready to go. Been here for about 11 years.
Thank you.
I guess we didn't unshare.
And Mr. Brian Hart, would you like to introduce yourself, please, sir?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian Hart. I teach United States history and African American history here at Del Mar, and I've been doing so pretty much since the college opened in 1935.
Awesome, thank you. And Dr. B. Alvarado?
Hi, everybody. I'm B. Alvarado. I teach psychology. So I've gotten to work with many of you in the past. I've been doing this here at Del Mar for about 8 years, almost exclusively with dual credit. But recently I've been moved into the department chair. So I'm getting to see a little bit of a different side of things, a little bit more of the administration, but I'm still looking forward to my semester with my dual credit students.
Thank you. And Miss Amy Jones.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Chilton Jones. I'm a professor of speech here at Del Mar College, and I've been at Del Mar for 22 years, and I've taught dual credit online and then also in the high schools. I'm also the discipline coordinator for speech, which means I do some of the scheduling. And so in that role, I also help schedule some of our speech professors that go out to the high schools and work with dual credit as well.
Thank you all for joining us today. We will get started with our first question. If any of our facilitators have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box, and we will get to them a little later if time permits. If we're unable to answer them during our training, we'll make sure to email you the questions and answers. Okay, so our very first question is for Mr. Brian Hart. When or how often should a student be logging into their Canvas coursework? When can a student be dropped for non-attendance?
So 2 questions, and understand I'm only speaking for myself here, not for my colleagues who teach dual credit courses. They may have different views and experiences with this. My courses are organized into weekly modules. So for each week of the semester, there are a number of things that the students should be doing during that week. A good deal of reading, since it's a history course, of course, in different varieties. So they'll read some from textbook chapters, they'll read some primary sources or historical documents, some other things. They'll watch a lot of video each week, and that's simply because out in my own selfishness, I'm a visual learner. So that helps me a lot if I'm reading something to see images related to it. So they watch a lot of video each week, and there's lecture that I've recorded that's available to them each week as well. So the question was, how often should a student be logging into their Canvas course? My short answer is as often as possible. How often, if that student were taking a standard U.S. history course on campus, how often would that student be going to class? I'm not certain that it works this way in every school, but I'm assuming that student would be in class daily. So I think the students, at least when they're taking my course, it's in their best interest to log into Canvas daily and work their way through each week's module, a little bit at a time. Do a little bit of reading each day, watch some video each day. If there are assignments due during a particular week, and there will be assignments due during almost every week, work on those sorts of assignments. So my advice is, if at all possible, they should be logging in daily and spending a decent amount of time in the course. And I recommend that highly. Second question, when can a student be dropped for non-attendance? Well, here's the way that I handle it. And I sure hope I'm operating within Del Mar College policy. And if I'm not, I'm fairly certain someone will point that out to me. We have to certify all of our class rosters by the 12th class day. So I look at it this way. If we get to the 12th class day and a student has done nothing, if a student has not bothered to log into the course even once, and Canvas provides me all this information, or if the student has logged in once but has not taken part in anything, has not done the class introduction, has not submitted his or her essay assignment and discussion choices, and that's something they have to do during week one, and that student has not done anything, participated at all in the course, particularly by the time we get to the 12th class day, then what that suggests to me is that that student is not taking the course seriously. And when we get to that point and I'm certifying rosters, I look back over the Canvas data that tells me about that student's involvement and engagement and activity in the course. And if I'm not seeing any activity in the course, then yeah, I'll probably click on the checkbox that will drop the student from that course.
Great, thank you. Question number 2 is for Miss Amy Jones. If a student is unable to log into an exam, quiz, or assignment, what is the best route you would like facilitators to tell students to take? Whose responsibility is it to inform the instructor?
Again, like Brian was saying, my opinion on this, and some instructors are going to have different opinions possibly, but again, this is my opinion on this, is I want the student to tell me. In my course, it's not that big a deal for there to be maybe a little glitch or a little issue. And especially in my course, I have my modules progress where they have to go through each assignment and each module in order to get to the next one. So especially at the beginning of the semester, what's going to happen is a student is going to accidentally try to skip ahead, and they're going to accidentally think that something's locked. And so that's where they're going to go, oh, I can't get to this assignment. Is something wrong? And so it's really not that big of a deal, especially in my class. So I'm a communication person. I want them to communicate with me. I really want them to say, hey, you know, this is what's going on. I encourage them to send me a screenshot. Like, this is what I'm seeing on my end. And so it allows me to see what's going on. I can troubleshoot it for them. And so that's my short answer, is I always want them to reach out to me because it's usually not a big deal. And I have been teaching online for 5 or 6 years. And usually if they tell me this is what's going on, I can solve it for them. So my short answer is if something's locked, or if they're not able to log on to something, or they're locked out of Canvas, if they reach out to me, I can usually troubleshoot that for them and get them back on track. So it's the student's responsibility, first of all. If the facilitator wants to, and the facilitator feels like it's a whole class problem, and they have lots of students saying, hey, nothing's working, the facilitator is welcome to reach out to me. But I think ultimately it's the student's responsibility. And in my experience, I can help troubleshoot and I can help get them back on track.
Great, thank you. Question 3, Ms. Terry, when do you recommend students to read the syllabus? When would you like for facilitators, students to inform you of schedule conflicts, such as SAT or UIL competitions?
Well, I go over the syllabus in my online class in my introduction. I have a video and explain everything. I show them where the syllabus is. I have the schedule of events of everything that we're going to do in the class, in the syllabus. And so I haven't really had an issue with students not being able to participate, but I do appreciate when the facilitator lets me know that, yes, next week we're doing all state testing, or we have competition. That's a good heads up for me. Exams are the only ones that really are important and have a deadline where it closes. So if that's a week that they're going to be missing, we need to make other arrangements. And all of my students, and I know this isn't popular, all of my students have my cell number. and they text me and let me know what's going on. So I don't really have a problem with that. I have had a few students who needed the syllabus up front, and they've emailed me and I've sent it to them, but it's always available there in my Canvas. So I believe that we do go over face-to-face classes. We go through the important things on the syllabus, and in my introduction, at least for my class, I go through the syllabus there also. So it's got a lot of information, but it's information on how we need to work together, and typically I review that with them.
Thank you. Dr. Alvarado, if a student wishes to dispute a grade on an assignment or exam, how should a facilitator direct the student?
Okay, that's a really good question. There's a lot of times when students don't know necessarily why they got the grade that they got. Most of us really make an effort to put explanations in the comments section. So that's usually the first thing that I would tell any facilitator or student. Did you read my comments? If they've still read it and still have a disagreement, then it is absolutely on the student to contact the instructor and say, this is what I don't understand, or can you explain a little bit further, or can we have a little meeting? As you can see, we'll do these Teams meetings. It's not a big deal, even if they're a remote student. Where I have had in the past, I have had facilitators contact me and say, I don't think this student should have this grade, and that is inappropriate for the facilitator. Now, the facilitator I know is advocating and they have the students' best interests at heart, but because these are college students, they need to be the ones who are reaching out to the instructors. So if a facilitator wants to give me a heads up and say, hey, this student's going to contact you, that's absolutely fine. That's not a problem. It is not the facilitator's place, however, to tell the instructor what they think is appropriate for the class. So that's the one caution that I would put. Now that I'm working as a department chair, I also see a different side of things. So for example, if a student at the end of the course has an issue with the grade that they were given, then that's a kind of an escalation. So we go a little bit higher, we can go into a grade appeal. In order to do that, the facilitator should know that if we're going to do a grade appeal, that has to be first, we're going to have you talk to your instructor. But second, if it needs to escalate, then they have to go to the department chair. So if the facilitator has questions on how that's done, please contact the instructor, and the instructor will give you the contact information for the department chair. But again, that all has to be student initiated.
Thank you. Ms. Jones, if a student is having difficulty contacting their instructor, what advice would you give them to resolve this issue? What is the average response time for instructors to respond to a student's email about assignments or issues?
Okay, this is a good one, and this might seem like a simple answer, but I'm going to break it down a little bit. The first thing I would do is if a student comes to you and says, I'm having difficulty contacting my instructor, the first thing I would do is have them define that term. Okay, what does that mean? What does difficulty mean? And let me give you an example. So I woke up one morning and I had an email from a student that said, I'm having difficulty contacting you. And most of my students will tell you that I have pretty quick response time. So I was concerned, I was confused. And so I looked back and I had an email from the student at midnight the night before, and then I had a voicemail from the student at 11 o'clock the night before. So that was their definition of they had tried to contact me and couldn't contact me. I was asleep the whole time while they were trying to contact me. So that's because I went to sleep at 10 o'clock. That's what I do. And so that's the first thing I would have them do is define the terms. What does that mean? That you're having difficulty? How long have you tried to contact them? And then is it during the week? Was it overnight? Was it over a weekend? Define those terms. And then also let's go ahead and look at their information page. I know my information page, any information page that I've looked at either through observation or in any of my colleagues' pages, when we have office hours, how to contact them. I know that it'll say, here's my preferred method of contact, and here's when you should probably expect a response from me. So mine says within 24 hours, and it's usually a lot quicker than that. And it'll say, you know, if it's on the weekends or if it's after this time, it might be longer than that. So ask them, have you looked at that? Are you using their preferred method of communication? So if you're leaving me a voicemail, maybe it'll be a little bit longer than if you're emailing me. I've had students send text messages to my office phone before, and that's not going to come through, obviously. And so that's where the breakdown in communication is. So I'd have them define that term. Where is the difficulty lying? Are you maybe not giving them enough time? Have you looked at what their response time is? Are you using their preferred method of communication? The other thing I would do is look at their announcements. You know, have you looked at your instructor's announcements and made sure they haven't made some sort of announcement about being out of pocket or something like that? So that's the main thing that I would say. And that usually is going to solve 99% of the problems.
All right, thank you. Dr. Alvarado, what course of action should a facilitator take if a student is caught cheating on a DMC exam?
Okay, excellent question, especially right now, since we've had so many people working remotely and students having to test at home. This has become a real issue. If a facilitator sees something, please, by all means, let the instructor know what you saw. The instructor will have to make a decision according to Del Mar policy on how the student should be sanctioned. There is a process they have to go through. There are appeals that can be done. So if it's something that you saw, please let us know. For the most part, however, it is the proctoring software or the use of the monitor, which is the webcam, that is producing the most results that I'm seeing so far. So for example, just in the summer 2 session that we are currently in, I am right now dealing with over 20 instances of academic dishonesty that have been caught on the monitor. So I've also been noticing in the chat that there's a lot of questions about the monitor, and that's going to come down to the instructor themselves, how the instructor wants to deal with the monitor. If your students are in a computer lab, I see that that's less of a problem having the monitor on. However, what you all should know is that the lockdown browser is kind of an all or nothing thing. If you're going to use the lockdown browser, it's going to apply to the entire class. It's not something that we can turn on and off individually for each student. So if we do decide to use the lockdown browser and we decide to use monitor, the only way to disable that is by password that we can give to the facilitator. Now, what's interesting about that is, as much as I know about lockdown browser and as much as I know about monitor, I didn't even know that there was a way to disable the monitor if they're in a proctored lab. I had to be told that by a facilitator, actually. So it could be many things. It could be that your instructor has given permission for someone to take it remotely, therefore all the cameras are on. Again, it's all or nothing. You can't just do one or the other. The other thing is that it could just be that they don't know necessarily that they can password disable, and they would have to be trained on how to do that. So there's a couple of different pathways there. So again, if we see the cheating, it is our responsibility as Del Mar instructors to investigate and sanction. We have approved sanctions that we can use. We have to inform the student of their ability to appeal. So we have a lot of steps that we have to do. So if you see anything, please let us know. You are our eyes and ears out there. We don't see these students most of the time. And even when we do, if we're watching them on monitor, it's not necessary that we can see exactly what's happening either. So again, thank you for your eyes and ears, and thank you for communicating with us if you do see anything. It's been many a times that I've had to contact a facilitator and say, hey, did you, oh yeah, no, that happened. You know, we had a fire alarm, so sorry about that. You know, thank you for that. That communication is essential.
Great, thank you. Mr. Hart, how often do you recommend students to check their DMC email?
Well, I guess two answers. For me personally, in the dual credit online courses that I teach, that's absolutely unimportant because we use the Canvas inbox for all email communication. That's for me. However, and the however is really big, the college uses all DMC email accounts when it has specific information that it wants all DMC students to have, and that would include dual credit students. So I would think, to be safe, even dual credit students should force themselves, and I understand that they prefer text messaging and email is in their minds an outmoded method of communication and all of that. Nonetheless, we use it. So my recommendation is that they force themselves to remember what their DMC email address is and remember what their password is, and check that once a week, at least once a week, maybe slightly more than that, just to see if there's communication from the college that they about things they need to be aware of. Now, some of my colleagues may use regular DMC email a lot more frequently with their dual credit students and for other reasons. I don't. I simply use Canvas inbox, but even there, I think my students, and I try to remind them to do this, and I usually fail to remind them to do this, but I think my students should check that email at least once or twice a week just to be on the safe side.
Thank you. Ms. Samo, what is your opinion on students doing homework on their cell phones? Should students download the Canvas app on their phones?
I encourage my students to do that. I videotape myself going through the PowerPoint, so if they're sitting waiting for something, I suggest they go ahead and watch it while they're not doing anything else. I do have quizzes that they can do on their phone. The problem is that the navigation's a little more difficult in the Canvas app. I have it on my phone. I use it all the time. I can go in and check and make sure that somebody's taken a test. I can send them email from there. And it's very useful on my side. I believe that most of my students, not always my dual credit students, to download it. The first time I taught it at Cal Allen for dual credit, I had suggested that they put in their cell phone for notifications, and they checked every single box. So they were getting hundreds of notifications just from my class, and that was back in the time when you had to like pay per text. So it was really bad, and my parents were not happy with me. So I refined that. I make sure in their notifications they can put in their cell phone, especially if I've graded something, or if there's a conversation, which is the inbox, it'll automatically send them a text. Well, I think that's turned off now, but it's easier for them to communicate on their phone. And I totally understand that in a classroom setting, if they are in a classroom, that would not be appropriate. But to me, if they are not in a classroom, it's one of the easier ways to be able to log in and check things out.
Thank you. Our next question is going to be for each one of you. What is one thing you feel the ISD facilitators can do to better serve our students and DMC faculty? Ms. Jones, would you like to start off?
I would just say encourage the students to reach out to the instructors. And this might be what everybody else is going to say, so I'm sorry if I'm stealing everybody's answer. A lot of times they're concerned about doing that, or they're scared about doing that. But again, like I said earlier, a lot of times, a lot of issues can just be solved by doing that. So I would just say, if they come to you and they're concerned about something, just say, have you emailed your instructor? Just really encourage them to do that, because on my end, and I think I speak for my colleagues, that's what we want them to do. So, encourage them to do that.
Mr. Hart, would you like to answer next?
Sure. My experience has been that the campus facilitators have always been extremely helpful, and I'm very grateful. I've always been very grateful for that. So that's never been a particular issue. I think they've always done what they can to be helpful to their students and to us as faculty members. I think maybe one thing I would say, and it may sound unnecessary, but since I'm a history teacher, I'm going to say it anyway. Remind your students from day one that they've chosen to enroll in a college course, right? And that this may mean things operate differently than they are accustomed to in the courses that they've taken in the past. They need to approach it with a real seriousness of purpose. They should not be, and I'm speaking again only for my classes, all right? My colleagues may have different views here. They should not be surprised, for instance, if on the first exam, they're disappointed with the grade that they get. I see this all the time. Apparently, they're not necessarily used to doing anything other than fantastically on an exam, but what I see frequently on a first exam, because it may be the very first college exam they've taken and they're taking it in an online environment, and they don't have direct access or daily access to me, what I see frequently is that they don't do as well on the first exam as they thought they would. They expected to. Now, I expect them not to do as well on the first exam. Surprise to me, but remind them also that they'll get better, that they'll do better on the next exam, and they'll do better on the next exam, and they'll do better on the next exam, and they need to be patient, which will be a difficult thing. They need to be patient and understand that the course is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and that the only grade that really matters, well, the only grade that really matters on our end is the grade that we give at the end of the semester. And by the time we get to the end of the semester, 90% of the time, they'll be doing very well in the course, and they will probably have achieved the grade that they wanted to achieve in the course. Seriousness of purpose is really, really important, I think, and understanding that the course they've taken is going to require a good deal of work and a good deal of effort and a good deal of time from them throughout the entire semester. And then I want to reinforce, I'm sorry, I'm taking up everyone else's time, sorry about this. I want to reinforce the point that Bea responded to. I know the colleague that she's talking about, and he's dealing with an absolute epidemic in the midst of a pandemic of academic dishonesty on exams. And sadly, a great number, the majority of those students he's dealing with are dual credit students. So I think it's sort of crucial for not only the faculty members, but the facilitators to say, everything you're doing needs to be individual unless your instructor tells you otherwise, and that certainly applies to the exams. And there are ways that they're paying attention to whether or not you are collaborating or cheating on those exams, and the consequences for that can be extremely, extremely serious. It's probably hard to convince high school juniors and seniors of this, but it's absolutely true. And if the facilitators can sort of begin hammering this point, that would probably be a useful thing for the students. All right, I'll shut up now. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Dr. Alvarado, would you like to go next?
Sure. Again, just what everyone else is saying is that the facilitators are always doing a great job. So I want to make sure that we just keep hammering that as well, because even if it's something that you see as small. So for example, you are seeing these students, you know what their daily struggles are. Occasionally I've had a facilitator reach out and say, this student is going through something at home. You know, that's context that I don't necessarily get from the students. I wish I would. I wish the students would let me know everything. They don't always have the courage, I guess, because we're so intimidating. But the facilitators can really help bridge that gap. But the other thing I also want to emphasize is we do not know your school's schedule. I can reach out as much as I can, But let me give you an example. In most other semesters, when I'm not doing this chair thing, I am juggling 15 different schools, usually at 12 different school districts. I don't know when you're on intercession. I don't know when you have a faculty work day. And if I have scheduled an exam on a particular day, letting me know literally the Friday afternoon before that exam is a problem. So if you would be so kind as to look at the syllabus and the course schedules that we give you at the beginning of the semester, it would be so helpful to us if you can let us know ahead of time. That way we can make announcements. Hey, if you go to this high school, I know you have a work day that day, or I know you're not in class that day. Here's how we're going to handle it. If we do that, you know, a week or two in advance, that really helps the students from freaking out. You know, I get so many freaked out emails saying, Dr. Alvarado, what are we supposed to do? And I'm like, huh? What do you mean you don't have a class on that day? So if you can just keep communicating with us about that stuff, because again, we don't know, and we want to. It's just sometimes a little bit unmanageable on our end. So we appreciate that very, very much.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarado. And Ms. Samo, would you like to answer?
Do we have time?
We do. Yes, ma'am.
One of the things that I would like to emphasize is reach out to us so that we can put you in as a facilitator and then match you with your students so you can see their progress. The other thing that my students have had a problem with in the past, if they have on finals week, you have something going on and they're not going to be able to make the final, we can always give them an eye if you let us know, and we can work out a schedule. I've had students who, you know, just had a horrible last week and didn't get an exam done or the final, which I could have given them an eye and given them a little more time. So I think that's one of the things that, again, we're so scary. Yeah, people are afraid to talk to us, and I think that's really sad. I'm very approachable and amenable to whatever I can do to help the student.
Thank you.
Oh, excuse me. I was informed I need to let you know what an I is. An I means that it's an incomplete. It's almost a contract with the student and the instructor that either maybe a huge project was not complete or a final exam, usually just one or two things that we're going to give you 6 months to be able to complete. So that's very important. You do end up with a situation where the student is having a difficult time at the end.
Alrighty, thank you. So we do have a couple of questions in the chat. We are going to address one more question, and with all the other questions, we will make sure to address them later on, whether it be after training or send them by email with our training recording. So this one's for Dr. Alvarado that I see in the chat. So if a student has not heard back from instructor over a week or two about a certain issue, should they contact the department chair? I just worry because some students have tried to be proactive about an assignment, quiz, test that is coming up, and on occasion they have not heard back from the instructor, and now that test has passed.
Okay, that's a great question. Again, it depends on the method that they're using to contact the instructor. So for example, I've had students who have tried to reach me through using a comment on an assignment. That's something that I don't get any kind of an alert for. So unless I'm actively grading that assignment at that moment, I might miss that attempted contact. Also, there are some instructors who prefer email rather than Canvas mail. So again, going back to what Amy Jones was saying, that's a big issue. If, however, the student has used Canvas mail and email, maybe even left a call, that's what, and they still haven't gotten any kind of a response, Again, we usually try to give your instructors at least 24 hours over the weekends, a little bit longer, from Friday to Monday. So we will take all of that into consideration. If they still haven't gotten anything back, then yes, go ahead and reach out to me and the instructor, CC me in it, and we'll see what we can do.
Great, thank you. So that concludes this session. Thank you so much again for joining us. And we will definitely make sure to answer all the questions, and you'll be able to get the answers. Thank you again. Okay, our next session is from Student Success Center. Melissa Longoria Gunen, she'll be speaking on the Tutor Support Services Coordinator. I'm sorry, she is a Tutor Support Service Coordinator.
Oh, I guess maybe if I stand, because I'm going to be moving around, right? Here. Take my purse off.
Yeah,
Bye, Terry.
And then just.
What do I do? Sorry. Looks good. Okay. Hi, good morning, everyone. I know it must be an exciting day, lots of information. You might be even a little bit exhausted. So I'm going to ask y'all to do a little something with me, if you don't mind. Humor me, please. I'm going to move this chair so I don't fall and break my neck. But get up for a second, move around, dance. All right. If I had a camera, you could see Kathy Westergan doing some laps in this room. Stretch. Even Gary's doing it. Gary's doing this dance move. Haven't seen it from the 90s, Gary, but all right. We're going to do like some breathing. Oh! Woohoo! Oh! Stretch out your body. Move it around a bit. Use those lungs. You hopefully nobody's videotaping this and putting it on YouTube and saying, look at this crazy person. Oh my God. She's nuts. Do we really want her around our students? Right, they're all right. But okay, so now that you've stretched a little with me, or let me maybe get that opportunity to stretch, because I think I kind of needed it, to tell you the truth, let's get started. So I'm with the Student Success Center. We are a tutoring center on the East Campus of Del Mar College. And the lovely Alyssa just pulled up our website. Thank you. And so this is our web page. And if you can mute your mics, that would be great. In a second here, I will definitely answer questions for you all.
Hello.
So what we do?
Well,
so
how are you, sir?
We tutor students.
Well,
tutors, peer tutors, which means they are either current Del Mar students or they have attended Del Mar and maybe now they are at A&M-CC or A&M Kingsville. Some have graduated and are doing other things, but they do tutor. They were once a student and can relate to students. We tutor in math, science, history, English. TSI tutoring is another thing that's been really big and we've been getting a lot of calls and emails about. And yes, we do TSI tutoring as well. A lot of times we will have the student bring their assessment in or email, because yes, we are doing a lot of things virtual. The virtual world now, right? The students can send that over. We do have a TSI coach, and what he does, his name is Blasi Banyas, he goes over those TSI scores, and then with the student and with the tutor, they put a plan together to help the student to work on the things that they need to work on and put some focus on. I'm going to scroll down to our website, and right here, you'll see a success coach. We do have a success coach. Your students may or may not need to meet with a success coach, but basically a success coach is a person that our students can meet with to put maybe goal clarification together, maybe some mindfulness techniques, even some time management and study skills. Who doesn't need that? I know I need the time management myself, but they can meet with this person one-on-one online. They just need to call our center or email. We're very easy to reach. It's ssc@delmar.edu. And I believe in the PowerPoint is our information is on there. You can also call us at 698-2259. That is our main number and can get and reach to all of us there at the center. We do have where we do talk about the TSI assessment. Again, it's going to be the same contact information to reach us. Another thing I do want to talk to y'all about. So I heard earlier today about some things that students go through, and in particular, how to communicate with your professor. Well, we do have some videos and tips on our website that we've put together for students on a lot of those subjects, including test anxiety, learning creativity, success planning. There are short videos, maybe 2 to 3 minutes at the most, so that you can turn to and maybe have your students look at whenever they maybe need something particular, maybe that you need to have them watch something and then use that as a precursor to what you're going to talk to about with them. But these are the videos that we have. We also have a tutoring service that your students are eligible for. It's called tutor.com, and I'm going to click on it right now. And I'm going to, they can't see my password information, right?
Not your password, but your
Okay.
username.
Okay, so I'm going to log in and give me a second here. So what this is, tutor.com is a 24/7 homework help. And your students that are taking Del Mar courses are eligible for this. They do have to log on via Canvas. They'll click on right here, tutor.com 24/7 homework help. And this should take them straight to the tutor.com portal. Let's see if it does. Oh, I had to click twice. And once it gets there, basically it'll welcome them. Right here it says, "Hi, Melissa." And then they've got their topics. If you scroll down, it's got various topics. Let's do history. And then right here under the subject, they can choose the subject that they will need. Let's just click on U.S. history. From there, they can then let them know how they want to meet with the tutor. They can chat only, or they can do chat and voice. And then they type in their question right here and then connect now. And it should take minutes to to be connected with the tutor. They also, over here on this right-hand side for me, they can keep track of all their sessions. So tutor.com does record all the sessions. It also keeps a transcript of it. So if you are wanting to know, did my student meet with the tutor? How did that session go? Those are something that we can make available to you. This might give you an indication as to how your student is doing, and if maybe they need maybe more help, or maybe they need to be maybe directed a little different, maybe some more help with how to study, or maybe how to focus, especially on something like history that requires a lot of time, a lot of reading, okay? Up at the top right here, and this again is for tutor.com, they can schedule a session, they can also submit a paper, and then they also can take practice quizzes so that the student will know how they're doing. As we all know, students love, especially this age group, they can stay up all night. And sometimes that means they are studying all night, which when the rest of us are sound asleep. So if they need to, jump on and meet with a tutor, this is a great option for them. Again, it is 24/7. They will need to log on to their Canvas page to access it. If they go to tutor.com on their own, then they'll need to set up an account and there is a fee for it. But as Del Mar students, that fee is covered for them as long as they go through their Canvas page. Okay. Let's see, so I'm going to log out of this and I just close it. And here I'm going back to our website. How do I navigate back to the website? Oh, and thank goodness Alyssa's here right next to me. And back on more. And here we are, we're back, yay! And so, yes, and you can also get to tutor.com from our page right here, tutor.com. If they go to Canvas, it'll take them. And then we also have a little QR code right here because we do a lot on Facebook. I know a lot of students, maybe in particular high school students, might not necessarily be doing Facebook as much. They might be using Twitter and maybe Instagram. We do have those accounts also, but we always start with Facebook and then I guess venture out from there in posting. But we do like to be active with the students on social media. At least we try our best. That is what I have. I know that there's other presenters that need to present, but do I take questions? There's no questions, so I guess. So thank you for meeting with me. Again, my name is Melissa Longoria Gunin. You can find me at the Student Success Center. We are at ssc@delmar.edu and at extension 2259. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Here we go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kathy Westergren. The name does not match what you see on the screen. I am actually going to be speaking at the library portion in about 10 minutes from when I'm done here. I guess that is over in 5-minute increments. So I'm going to keep an eye on my time. I am going to show you guys the website for the Stone Writing Center. The Dean of Learning Resources is my boss's boss. So I am a full-time librarian here at Del Mar College. So the Stone Writing Center is under our division, so to speak. A quick little introduction about myself while we're getting this website up. I have been at Del Mar College for 4 years. I served as an academic advisor for health science majors. And then for the last 3 of those years, I worked part-time for Del Mar College Libraries, and I am now a full-time librarian here. So I really appreciated that panel discussion that we heard a little while ago, encouraging students to definitely pay attention to their grades for their college classes. Depending on some of their goals, it may really well matter what grade they make in general psychology or US History 1 or 2 or college English 1 or math. All right, so one of the ways to get to the Stone Writing Center, as y'all may know, is from the Canvas portal. And another way is delmar.edu/SWC, short for Stone Writing Center. So you don't even need to remember this offices and the index. It's just if you typed delmar.edu/SWC, you would get to the Stone Writing Center page. I am going to go ahead and enlarge this a little bit, just so I can make sure everyone can see. And I want you to know that we do have our location and our hours. So it's actually kind of important to know that while normally the East Campus, which many people think of as our main campus in Corpus, the Stone Writing Center is normally in the White Library building. That building is closed due to renovation. And when I get to the library portion in a little bit, I will show you all the hours on the library website. But you can see on their website that their location has changed. They have online tutoring. We're going to talk about that in a moment. They have physical hours for those of you who have students who are, and just so you know, the Stone Writing Center isn't just for students. This is actually a resource open to the Corpus Christi, to our community. People can go there for resume writing help, for example. So our students, though, who might want some in-person help can do so. When the fall happens, they will have locations on the West Campus Stone Writing Center as well. And I want you to be aware that the online tutoring is 24/7. But what this means, I appreciated it. I guess it was Dr. Alvarado who said on the panel, or maybe it was, anyway, one of the professors on the panel mentioned that Professor Jones mentioned that when students are trying to get a hold of you and oh, it's 11 o'clock at night, you got to give it some time. So the online tutoring link is going to actually take them to where they're going to log in to it's actually a course, not just I guess a module in Canvas rather than an information page. The library section in Canvas really links you to the library, but the Stone Rating Center has a course built into it. So the services that they can help you with are all here on the left-hand side. I'll make this just a tad bigger. You have various grammar and punctuation services, composition essay. One of the things they will actually help students with, if you have seniors that are going to be getting ready to work on their college essays, maybe as they're juniors in high school, that is a service that they will help them with their writing. And again, keep in mind, the Stone Rating Center isn't going to do the writing for the students. They're going to help them with their writing, help it make it better. I want you to understand also, it's not just for people who are doing resume writing or who are in a college English class. It is for all students who have writing assignments. So that could be that psychology or history class, or even a nursing students have assignments they have to write. So, there's lots of reasons that they might have to submit a writing assignment. So if you just make sure you remember delmar.edu/SWC, or have students get on from their Canvas access, then they're going to have access to this site and the online tutoring. One other thing I'm going to do real quick. The Dual Credit organizers of this amazing event asked me to play this short video, 5 minutes long, so I don't know if we have time for the whole thing, but we'll.
Hi, I'm Laura, and I'm an instructional consultant with the Stone Rating Center. If you're watching this video, it means that you're just about ready to send in writing to us for feedback. For most of our returning students, the submission process is probably something you're already familiar with, but for those of you who aren't, I'm here to show you how to do it. When you're ready to submit your writing, the first thing you need to do is open up the course. In the center of the course's home page, right below this video, you'll see the words "To begin, click here to submit writing." So click the link. This will bring up all the submission forms that are available to you. Make sure you select the one for that particular week. This will open up the submission form and you'll click the words "Take the quiz." But don't worry, this is not a real quiz and you're not actually getting a real grade for it. Once you select "Take the quiz," it'll open up the submission form. Once again, it looks like a quiz, but there are no right or wrong answers. Question 1 asks you to type in your first and last name. Question 2 asks for your instructor's first and last name along with the course that you're taking with them, such as English 1301. Question 3 asks what you need help with and where you are in the writing process, whether that's just getting started, sending in writing, or needing help understanding the assignment instructions. If you're just taking a look at the quiz, then you can go ahead and skip this question. Don't forget that at Stone Rating Center, we can help you at any stage in the process, whether you just need help understanding your assignment instructions, or whether you're almost done and just need a little bit of help cleaning up. Question 4 is important, and it's where you'll submit your assignment instructions. The best way to do this is to copy and paste the text into the text box, or to insert a photo or a screenshot of your instructions. Whatever you.
I think that is enough to give us a sample of what a very short video that, a lot of the kids these days, we can't even catch their attention with a 30-minute thing. So a 5-minute video for them to get step-by-step instructions on how to submit their writing. I am going to go ahead and stop for now. You will see me in a little bit moment later after the Math Learning Center.
All right. Are we ready? Are we good? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, cool. So my name is Christian Moore. I'm one of the supervisors at the MLC. We've got 6 full-time supervisors and I think about 15 part-timers. And so I think we were gonna look at some information from the website. So we do have a website. You can find it through the Del Mar College main page. And the first thing that you'll see is on this front page, you'll see the button that says Get Started Here. We do have an online component as well. If you click on the Get Started Here, it's going to ask you to sign in. And once you sign in, it's going to ask some questions about what classes you're taking, who's your professor, and that kind of stuff. And then it's going to give you a Zoom link. So if you're working from home, you can actually jump onto Zoom and you can connect with a tutor and you'll be in your own breakout room. And you can get one-on-one support. So our hours are pretty much every weekday except for Fridays from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We are closed on Fridays in the summer, but in the fall, we're open on Fridays as well from 10 to 3, I think. I think they changed it recently. And then we're also open on Saturdays as well from 10 to 3. And so what we do is we offer tutoring for pretty much any kind of math that you can find at Del Mar, certainly for any of the dual credit courses. We have computers, we have calculators, and what you'll do is you would come in and you would start working on your stuff, and when you get stuck or if you need help, you would let us know and then we'd help you. We don't want to take the place of your primary instructor, but we are there to assist if you get stuck, because sometimes it's good to hear it from a different person. We have handouts that we can give out, pretty much handouts over any subject that you'll find for any of the Del Mar classes. And actually anybody you can access those from anywhere on the web. You can just go to the website and find those. And I don't know if I'm missing anything. But again, we do have an online component, so you don't actually have to come to the school to get math tutoring. But if you do, we're located in the Coles building, which we actually have a map somewhere. And the map will tell you, yeah, we're in the Coles building in room 117. It's on the first floor. And you can watch the video. Yeah.
They may be overwhelmed at first. We have a place that you can come to go ahead and get those help with all the, anything that they really need that's math related. So we calm them down first, relieve some of those anxieties, and then of course, we start building skills with them and then promote independent learning by the time we're finished. There's actually full-time faculty members here on site at all times, at least 2 of us, and throughout the busy part of our day, 5 of us are going to be here. We can't guarantee one-on-one, but what we do is we have a team of tutors that circulate the entire room, and all we're doing is looking for people to put their hands in the air. We have laptops, we have Surface Pros, we have iPads, and all those are compatible with My Math Lab. Students that may not have computer resources at home or internet are welcome to use these machines. Our math is the priority, but we will take anybody that's a registered Del Mar student in any type of math related course.
Okay, so anybody want to ask questions or anything like that? We do have a West Campus facility, but right now it's not open. And we're not sure when it is, but for sure we have the East Campus and we have the online component as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi guys, it's me again. I am here. Did you miss me? So I'm going to go ahead and just switch over to the library. And there we go. I got it right. So I wanted to go ahead and point out to you guys real quick. When you're having a hard time finding, trying to remember all these URLs that were given, and I think you're going to get probably a follow-up email, probably would include a PowerPoint. But if you're having issues accessing anything, Remember that a lot of tools, if you could just remember delmar.edu, a lot is available from the website. The library, for example, is available at the very bottom of the page. Viking Toolbox is going to have links to the library in there. For those who have access to Canvas, the student logins, that's going to also be, there's going to be links to the library in there. It's just like with the Stone Writing Center. But I mentioned the username password real quick while I have Viking Toolbox open. That was links were shared. This is another way students can access that information, and there's even links from there to how to change the password. And this is relevant for the library resources, and I'm going to show you why. If you are looking at our page, first of all, you see a big box right here, Beacon. This is our discovery service. This allows students to search many resources at once. It allows them to search our physical collection, our library catalog, and it allows them to search our databases and other electronic resources at the same time. They can also specifically go to databases or the library catalog if they know they physically want a book, they're willing to drive to the West Campus to pick up a book. They can do that. So remember earlier, I mentioned that the East Campus Library is closed due to renovation, but the West Campus Library is open, and our East Campus services have been scattered on that campus. So for many of your students, they're going to be online, and so it's a moot point unless they want to physically come to campus. But we do have study rooms on the West Campus for those who need quiet study space. And know that at any time on the right-hand side of this big, the first homepage for the library, once you get there, you have a link to the reference hours or the library hours rather. And this is going to have everything listed for you. The scattered services on the East Campus, like for student ID, students who want to get their Del Mar student ID, they do that through the library, whether it's the East Campus or the West Campus. And then the Barth Learning Resources Center, this is going to show our hours. And in the fall, note that we're actually going to be open pretty good hours on Saturday and Sundays for students who need that. So back to the library homepage, if you're needing to get information about anytime, if the students are needing help outside of our open hours, what if you guys are open and somehow helping out a student, facilitating, I don't know, maybe an exam, but you're just helping them out when Del Mar is closed. Maybe we have a holiday or a closing that you're not open. Well, guess what? We use a chat service that even when we're not open is going to be answered by other librarians. It's a 24-hour service. And what I'd like to kind of plug are a few of the other resources for y'all real quick with the couple minutes I have left. Flipster. This is a really cool thing that students don't realize that they might actually enjoy looking at this. And many of the high school libraries are going to have databases, but I don't know how many of y'all have Flipster. If you do, great. If you don't, this could be a resource. If students finish an exam that you're facilitating earlier, but they're all in the classroom, maybe they can play around with Flipster or work on some other assignments, of course. But this, again, like if they're just going to click on this to look at a magazine, or if they're going to click on A to Z databases, or even our library catalog, or most importantly, Beacon, which allows them to pretty much search everything at once, they are going to have to log in using their web DMC credentials when they're not at a Del Mar computer. So it's very important for them to make sure they understand that when accessing web DMC and Canvas, it is the exact same username and password, and that is the same thing for library services. And the email is the same password. This is just the long email address, not just your username, but your username at webdmc.delmar.edu. So it's important that they understand their login information. One of the services that our databases can help with, or our databases and Beacon can help with, is actually citation generation. And I usually recommend students double check their work because sometimes it's not accurate, but this can kind of be a nice resource for a student who's trying to do some research and they're wanting to kind of check their work, creating references. And then I wanted to mention that they can also look at not just A to Z databases by subject type. They can filter by database types like ebooks. Maybe they want an electronic book or newspapers, but they can also do it per particular subject. and rather than look at all the 155 databases. But I do also want to point out that we have LibGuides, and LibGuides are going to also be listed, all of them, or by subject. And so these can be starting points of research based on certain programs. More importantly for these students, though, is the fact that they're probably going to be interested in the distance learner LibGuide specifically created for them. And this is going to have some resources to get them started on research basics if they're needing help. They're also welcome to contact the librarian at any time. And so this is excellent resources for them. The last thing I want to point out is sometimes students want to actually have a physical item. Well, even if they're not in the Corpus Christi area and not wanting to come to campus, know that they can actually request items be mailed to them. So distance learner and dual enrollment requests, this is going to tell them about what they're needing to be I can't move that window. So anyway, this is something that students can actually fill out a form and request items from our catalog be sent to them. Or if it's an item we don't own, that's where they can do interlibrary loan. That's this bottom bullet point. And that's oftentimes it's going to be an article that we don't have access to in our databases, which they can limit by full text to try to just see the full text items. A lot of times people want things now, but it doesn't usually take too long to get items via interlibrary loan, via ILL, especially the electronic articles. That doesn't usually take too long. And that's going to usually, our course reserves and ILL, we're wanting students to use their Del Mar email because for copyright reasons, we need to make sure it's the person requesting it that we're sending it to them. So it's a really good idea for students to get familiar with Office 365 if they're not already familiar at their high schools or personally. They just want to get familiar with it because that email link is not just email. It's got all sorts of products, right? Microsoft Word, PowerPoint. They're having to create writing assignments and they don't have Word at home and they're trying to do the assignment outside of your school. If your school doesn't have access Office 365, the students can use this to actually work on their assignments and have everything saved everywhere. I think I've covered as much as I can with the time I was allotted. Are there any questions? Oh, yeah. Yes, of course. Always. I want you guys to know that my contact info, all of our contact info is actually under here about the library. It's actually under the library contacts and directory. And remember how earlier when I stood in for Stone Writing Center, I mentioned that that's still under our purview. Our Dean of Learning Resources is over the Stone Writing Center. And then I'm over here. All the librarians in our subject specialties are listed here. This is my supervisor, the head of Library Public Services, Hope Byer. And then as you scroll down, you're actually going to see my info. I go by Kathy. I don't mind Kathleen, though, if you don't remember that. And then you can actually get my phone number here. My email, if you're interested, is really easy. It's my first initial and my entire last name at delmar.edu. That's a little confusing. Just keep in mind the faculty and staff at Del Mar, our email addresses are at delmar.edu. All the students are on the WebDMC server. I guess that's why their email is at webdmc.delmar.edu. All right, thank you guys. And if there's other questions, I'll be happy to stand in and assist.
Hey guys, thank you so much for that wonderful information, Kathy. Also, thank you to all our presenters and all of our student services. So guys, on top of all the student services that we do have, we always like for you to have everything at your fingertips. So we have the Facilitator Corner. Now let me show you exactly what that is. So, of course, right now we could be telling you this information, and then later on you get bombarded with other things you might forget. So this is a really good tool for you to have, okay? So you'll go to our website, delmar.edu, and then you can click on Facilitator Corner, okay? So we have some videos, and if your students are having trouble, you know, getting into Canvas or actually like anything on their WebDMC, we have our videos also located on this page. And let me express how important the term reports are. Okay, so if you do have students that are missing from your term report, we want to make sure that we get them registered before classes start. Classes start August 30th, okay? So please make sure you remember that. We have a lot of other helpful information on here. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always contact your assigned coordinator, or you can contact our office, okay? All of our information to contact us is right here on the right side of the page. Right here, guys. Okay. Alrighty, so that's our facilitator corner. And of course, we have a lot of other helpful links as well, like our dual credit registration forms. So just to let you guys know that. And I think we have some questions that we're going to go ahead and address. So hold on just a moment. I know we had some questions.
Bob, do you want to come on and go through some of the questions that we have in the chat?
Sure. Okay, we have from, let's see. We have one from Brenda Garcia. Who can we contact regarding our WebDMC Facilitator username and password? So what we do is we send out the list of the names. So if you've already sent out your name and your email to us, to the Early College Programs Office, or Dual Credit Office, we'll send that information to the IT. The IT will then create or put your information in the system. So this way you're already in there. So this way your credentials can be given. And then after that, you would request access to your instructor. Again, we will send that information to you as far as who the instructor records are for each student. Once you put that information, and that I believe what happens is the instructor will go in and add your information in, so this way they can grant you access. We'll send out that information to you. Same thing for Melissa Solis. We'll be getting our own logins and passwords for Canvas access. Again, if you've already sent your information to us, your name and your email address, again, we will send that. We'll get that information to IT, so this way you can be generated into the system. So if you know you've already sent that, let us know. If this is the first time that we received your information, send us your information.
What we're going to do, Bob, is we'll use the sign in. So that's why it's very important for everybody to sign in with their name and high school. And we'll use today's sign in sheet to send over to IT. Just to alleviate 54 emails.
We'll be getting the step-by-step. I know Veronica answered that question. We'll be get the step-by-step on the 24-hour, 7-day week tutoring. Again, you can find that on our page. There's information there. We can send that, but you'll be getting some information about this training. But if you visit the sites that we have been letting you know about, you can find all that information on there as well. I know there's Myra Sanchez, you had asked what resources are available to our students who may have anxieties and uncertainties during this new year. How many days will COVID-19 positive students be given to make up work? Is there a plan in place for students who test positive and might miss work. That's all going to be up to, if there's a student that maybe this year has to sit out for 2 weeks of quarantine or anything like that, it's definitely let the students know that they have to contact their instructors. Each instructor, every facilitator that was on the panel, they do something different. They try to be consistent, but some of them might have a little different process. But definitely the communication is going to be the key for students who may be sitting out. If you know the student, let's say they're sick or really sick or something like that, then maybe you can, and you have some information, reach out to that instructor and say, we know that so-and-so is maybe ill, maybe out. We've told them to contact you, but we're just giving you a heads up. So any heads up, there's not anything set in place right now, but again, this is all uncertain. You know, can exams, can assignments be made up? Sure, you know, there are for other instances where illnesses do occur prior to COVID. But again, the communication is going to be key for them to make sure that they can, that you keep them in the loop, keep the instructors in the loop, or have the students keep them, or if you need to as well, then you can. You know, for their anxieties, you know, I know there's uncertainties that students have. We do have some counselors on our site as well. We didn't bring them in, but visiting the Del Mar site for disabilities or any type of counseling, things like that on our end, we do offer that stuff for our students as well. Speaking of disabilities, if you know, I know it wasn't mentioned, but if you do know that there is a student that may have signed up for disability services through the high school, and they're taking a college level course, that it's not an automatically. If they need any type of services, disability services, the student needs to contact the disability services. So if you know that it was disclosed to you, or a student discloses that, or a parent discloses, make sure that they make the accommodations with Del Mar College as well, because we will not know any of that information. The student will have to go ahead and make sure. So that was one key things, that a note that I made that I didn't mention earlier. Again, for disabilities, they have to make make those arrangements with our office on campus. I do not see any other questions. I know Larissa Duke's question was asked. Oh, Ms. Barton, when proctoring an exam, will facilitators still need to use a lockdown browser and camera if we are face-to-face? I believe Dr. Alvarado maybe expressed some of that or explained some of that. It has to have some type of monitoring system in place for the exams, whether it be the proctor or the camera. Just refer back to whatever else is on that syllabus. Make sure the students read that. If you get a copy of that, make sure you kind of like look through those syllabus. Everybody's syllabi looks different or may look a little different. So it's always maybe get those printed out. Make sure you have each of those. That is my suggestion for those, and then contacting them as far as for the cameras or proctoring. Not see. Nicole, do you see any other?
I don't see any other questions. I did answer the question about continuing education that is in the chat. We will be emailing IT everybody's information, so we will be clearing up your username and passwords via email to everybody. Alyssa will be sending out a copy of today's recording for today's presentation, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint you are seeing today. All of that will be emailed to you, so feel free to share that with your colleagues who was unable to join us today. In addition, you will be getting a packet of information. You will be getting a list of your facilitator roles. Alyssa has created an amazing checklist for you all for things that we recommend that you and your students complete from the time of August 10th through August 30th. We also have the crucial 12-day checklist, things to do once classes have started. There is a checklist of things to do the first 12 class days that Alyssa will be emailing to you as well. I believe there is also a testing procedures that you will be getting. So there will be a nice packet of information for you all.
Yeah, and we really encourage, again, like that checklist, that August 10th to the 30th, right there. All those videos that you saw, I know kind of they're kind of like a little long, maybe a couple of minutes long, but please have those students do that orientation while they're sitting those within those 2 weeks. You can do some assignments with them, orientation. Check out the Canvas video, the Web DMC video, math learning, all about the math learning, Stone Writing Center, student success. Have them look at that, because that's going to arm them with what questions they may have throughout the semester. And again, we thank you guys so much. Oh, one more key thing is that please, please, please make sure you look at that roster. That's going to be a key thing. If you see anything out of the ordinary, that a student was on a list at one time and then they're not on our list, you know, it gets tedious, but every day that roster needs to be checked to make sure that it matches with the high school roster and the college roster. We don't know, some students, they want to drop or things like that, or they may miss the payment deadline and they get dropped and they were in it at one time, but they're not in it next time. Please, please, please look at that so this way we know. What you see on your screen right now, you saw all my colleagues that I work with, Nicole Kinzerski, Amanda Cisneros, Emily, Gary, Alyssa, and myself. There I am. But there is listed every single school that they are assigned to. Okay, so if you can look at that, we can print this up and send that out as well. But those are the schools that each coordinator, you can always reach out to them. Their contact information is there. The email information is there. So I know, again, we created a live chat on our dual credit page. So if students are having questions or need to contact us, if you tell them get on the Del Mar College dual credit page, there's a little chat feature they can click on and a live person will pop up and we can talk to them, maybe answer some questions that they may have. So you can direct them rather than just picking up the phone, since they may be on the computer. Of course, they're going to need a camera and they're going to need a microphone, so this way we can communicate with them, or they can just old school it and pick up the phone and call us. So we thank you for your time today. We know that you all have a million things to do, but normally this is a face-to-face training. At the last minute, I apologize that we had to put it on online, but we wanted to be more interactive. So my team, we put this together at the last minute to be virtual. So again, thank you all for all your support. Know that you guys make a big difference when serving our students and helping them navigate through their college course. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at any time. Our number is 361-698-1634. 698-1634. Okay.
Also, let me just go ahead before everybody starts getting off. Please make sure your students complete the dual credit orientation. It's not just for new students. We want to encourage our current students just as well, because it's information that we're constantly updating and maybe information that they didn't know before. So you can find our dual credit orientation on our website right here on the right-hand side. Thank you so much, facilitators.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Should we stop recording?